Working Class on DeerCast. We're here, not in our studio, not the normal studio.
Nope.
Ross actually made it for one.
Yeah.
And we made it for this special one, which we're down at the Drury office with these boys, Matt and Steve, Tim. What's up? Thanks for having us in your studio and letting us take over for an episode.
Glad to have you guys.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys letting us jump on with you.
Yeah, well, we did one with you guys and did that charity work there, so that was nice. And we appreciate you guys doing the same for us on the other end of things.
Putting us on the map.
Yeah, putting you on the map.
And there's going to be certain things in this one that we reference, like calling Tim Steve, that you just have to listen to the other one to figure out why.
I think this one's going to launch well after that first episode. So go back, listen to that one first, and then a lot of these jokes will make sense when you come to this episode.
Hopefully.
And since this is on your platform, just in general, go ahead and check out the 100% Wild.
Well, it's
podcast.
the same platform if you think about it. So we're both on DeerCast. So we're the only podcast on DeerCast.
That's right.
And
only other one.
well, right. So yeah. So
Tim, it's starting.
yeah, here we go. Here we go. But no, we appreciate you guys letting us do the takeover and just kind of winging an episode while we're down here and having some fun.
Yeah.
But it's cool, man. It's neat to see like the different processes. Like you guys are way more high end than us, and we're just good old working class boys over on the other end, just trying to be high end.
You own it, man. That's your niche, though, right?
Yeah, we got to do it. We got to do it. So
We've got hair and makeup and lights.
And lights.
Wardrobe.
So I think people, let's just start with this, because I see a lot of, I thought they were all jokes, but maybe some people think there actually is animosity between us, but it's all love.
It's all jokes.
Because we're family.
That's right.
You know? But that's part of the fun, is giving each other shit about the two different series. And
I feel like there's maybe something brewing between Ross and me.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
it's because your
think
beard
there
is
is,
far less intimidating than his. Yep.
Oh yeah.
We gotta work on that.
This is like stubble. He's got
Yeah.
grizzly
Years
Adams
of
over
growth
there.
here.
Right. You're out bearded. I'm like beard 3, you got beard 2, and then beard 1 here.
I've always wondered
Beard
what
4.
would happen if I let it go. I never do.
Oh, you got a great working class beard, man. You could rock one.
Quit shaving it down like the Amish style. Just let it poof out.
Yeah, let it get up
Is
by
that
your
Amish?
eyes.
I think so.
Yeah, up by your eyes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I noticed that, and I looked in the mirror there. I'm like, dang.
No,
I
that's
didn't
man
trim my
stuff.
Creeping up
top of my
towards-
cheeks.
That's me. You just, instead of aftershave, you put a little Crown Royal up there and it starts growing up
Yeah.
underneath your
Sting.
eyes.
That's right.
That's exactly it. So, no, but how did you guys get into the whole podcast game initially? I mean,
So
whose idea was it?
So it was mine dating back a few years. So this is a kind of a crossover. I know in your 500th episode, you guys, or your fan base may have brought up the guy by the name of Mark Kenyon quite a bit. So Mark back then, I felt like was, doing it on a pretty large scale, and I was a fan of Wired to Hunt in general, what he was accomplishing, and pretty new in general to that. The medium was pretty new in general at that time. So Mark was on it a lot. Terry was on it, and I just reached out to Mark Kenyon at one point. I said, you know what? I knew DeerCast was coming down the pipeline, and I said, I think we need to have a podcast. It's an area that we need to get into, and this would have been probably 2016 or so.
Yeah.
And so
that's pretty early for podcasts in general.
Yeah, so I approached him and said, hey, what if we partner up and we do something that's, you still have Wired to Hunt, but we have the 100% Wild podcast that's, we co-host together.
For sure.
And he taught me a lot about podcasts and structure and all that stuff. And
Yeah, he's one of the pioneers for sure.
Exactly. And then when Meat Eater bought him out, he had to, it's just part of it. He had other things that he had to do with those guys at Meat Eater. And so the partnership kind of fizzled out there. And, at that point, we probably had 70 episodes in the can. And we were doing, it wasn't one a week. It was more like, 30 episodes a year, 20, 30 episodes a year, or something like that.
But still quite a bit.
Yeah. And so I was like, man, I don't want to stop. We got this momentum. And that's about the time that Tim was hired on to be the editor-in-chief of DeerCast. And Tim has his own podcast called The Thinking Woodsman. And I thought, you know what? This could be a good opportunity to keep it all in-house. Yeah, it makes sense.
You were wrong.
I regret that to this day.
But you were doing The Thinking Woodsman. You started that a while back, because I remember seeing
16 or 15.
Yeah, so just shortly after Working Class started, because I remember seeing you podcast with like Chip City and the boys shortly after we did, and I was like, oh, that's cool. So, and you weren't too far from us, I don't believe.
Well, I was still down in St. Louis.
Oh, okay.
But I had so many friends and contacts and family back in Illinois
Right,
that I
okay.
would make a run back home and bring my podcasting gear. And
Yeah.
it's a hustle. I mean, you know
Yeah.
very well. Like, it's a lot of work to
Right.
put out a show like on a regular basis.
Once we kind of, I mean, it took us a little bit to hit a stride, but so everything we do also, it's part of the overall business plan is, okay, how do we monetize? How do we continue to grow? How do we make sure we have a product that people want to listen to?
Yeah, relevant and everything.
Yeah. And so it started growing to a point where sponsors were asking about it, and, sponsors of the TV shows or sponsors of what we call DoD TV, kind of our digital assets.
Yeah.
And they started asking about it. And I think podcast, in part because of guys like you and, and Kenyon, and of course, Rogan's the god of it. But it became so popular the last 3-4 years that you start seeing a lot of people have podcasts.
Yeah, almost everyone's got one now. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, these guys have a couple hundred episodes. Like, all right, what are they about? And so, we stayed consistent and did one a week, and we've done that for 3 years in a row, 2 or 3 years in a row. Mm-hmm. And that consistency, we've just kind of got our own little deal going, honestly, and we were pretty isolated as to what else is happening out there, and it's basically a lot of inside jokes and a lot of BS
fun,
sessions.
Yeah,
and
it's good though.
Try to have guests on that are relevant to our partnerships and provide a platform for them. And
for sure.
I think we have the ability, just because of Mark and Terry and kind of the brand that they've built, with the ability to get guys like Rob Keck and Waddell and some of the bigger names out there, and so that helps in general. So that's kind of the start to how it's evolved to what it is now.
I like it.
Yeah, and we've had similar conversations, and what you guys do very well is there's no pretension in what you're doing. Like, this is who we are. Take it or leave it. This is, what you see is what you get. And early on, Matt and I had the conversation, like, we can't pretend to be Mark and Terry. We're nowhere. We're not even in that stratosphere.
That leads into. I was going to ask you, like, if that added a different level of pressure with your guys' podcast on such a massive platform already.
Well, for me personally, there is. I feel a great burden because we have the Drury Outdoors name attached to it, and I'm very proud of that. A burden because there's a 33-year history there, a legacy that people expect. Yeah. Such high quality, they just expect a lot out of that. Yeah, and it's like it's carrying a mantle. And so while we may not have like the deer killing chops that Mark and Terry do, there's other aspects that we can bring to the table that I think speak to folks who are learning or struggling with their seasons.
Yeah, that's right.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I think that's, so the other thing is, this is a kind of a more real version of Drury Outdoors, is in a sense of a behind, you pull the curtain back a little bit. Yeah. And even when Mark and Terry are on with us, I've grown up with this, right? This company, and I've seen their on-screen versus their off-screen. And when they started in the 80s and 90s, an on-screen presence, it was a little bit of not an act, but a different delivery.
You fall in between two lines of how you need to be on camera type of thing.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And this allows them to kind of be themselves. And I don't think they were overly comfortable with that at first, but now they jump right into the mix, and they're themselves. Yeah. And I think that was what I wanted to make sure we continue to make this podcast a real version of what happens here, and a look behind the curtain, so to speak. Yeah. Yeah. And I think we do that. And I don't think anybody pretends that we're anything other than a couple of guys that are trying to be better hunters, that don't know, we might know a little bit about a lot of things. We don't know a lot about any one thing.
Yeah, I got you.
And I think that plays to our advantage because it helps the audience too. Like, when I ask Bobby Cole about Biologic, like, I'm asking for myself. Basically.
Yeah, you genuinely want to know.
Yeah, because I don't know something. You know what I mean? And I think that helps our overall cause, because Mark and Terry do already know those things.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? And of course, you can learn something new every day, but we are literally learning something new every day.
Sure, that's good though.
Yeah. It's good for the platform, I think, as a fan of Drury Outdoors growing up. Like, I think, Mark and Terry, it's like that's everyone's whitetail idols growing up. But you need, as a company, as a media company, I guess, full circle, you kind of need that. And long form. Because what I found, I don't know, Ross, if you feel this way, when we interview people on the podcast, a lot of people that won't do it, or they're very limited in how long they will do it. We have, like, our episode 500 was 5 hours long. You know, if someone's bullshitting about who they are, they can't sit there for 5 hours and hold the conversation. Like, eventually you're going to see through people. So I think that's important in media now, and people get to, like, learn you guys through the brand. Like you said, the inside jokes and the interaction with people is fun, because that's really what Deer Camp is what we're doing. We're just recording it and filming it and putting it out in a source of media. So
there's so many voices in the outdoor hunting media space today, and there's so much egoism. There's so much like, hey, look at me. And it's so many people striving to be the authority. Yeah. And it's really like, just be yourself, be interested, and eventually you may become interesting. We don't want to be another voice out there pretending to be something that we're not.
Well, you have to have like a genuine interest and passion about what we're talking about. You know, we're not necessarily talking about deer hunting right now in this conversation, but we're talking about being motivated and passionate about to talk about deer hunting or turkey hunting or elk or whatever to do a show, because I never have any problems talking about like finding content to talk about, or stories or hunts or anything like that.
It flows pretty easy.
And if we weren't that into it, we probably would have a hard time being like, well, because most times like we record like, oh, I got in my head what we're going to talk about. It's like, well, what? You didn't like write anything down? I'm like, well, I know you kill a good elk, and we can genuinely, in our passionate conversation with each other, we're going to talk about a lot more than just that one elk story, you know, or whatever it is.
Well, people want to feel like they're sitting there at the campfire with you. Exactly. Right? And that's the whole point of podcasts. Right. It's like a fly on the wall.
Exactly. Now, it can get challenging, you know, sometimes. I don't know, right now we're pretty busy. Turkeys are coming in. But midsummer, I mean, nowadays our hunting season starts in September with doing like Western stuff. So there's always something rolling and all that. But no, I think it's great that you guys are on there, and it's not I mean, I'm sure people would love to watch Mark and Terry on a podcast together all the time.
Certainly have more listens and views.
We got a lot of feedback. People know that.
You know, I think it's cool that it's not too. You know what I mean? It shows that there's more people behind the brand besides Mark and Terry.
Well, and I think, you know, I find it interesting. We give Tim a bunch of crap about it, but I find interesting his style hunting. It's totally different than my style hunting. My style hunting is obviously a byproduct of what I grew up with Mark and Terry, and it's just different. But I would love hearing Tim's story about public land, about even when he's testing out saddle hunting. He doesn't do it all the time, but sometimes he tests that stuff. And I find it interesting because it's not something that I relate to or that I do, but I can find interest in the skill that it takes to do that. And I know our audience is the same way. So it's providing something for the audience that Mark and Terry style, which is almost all of our style on the team, is a byproduct of. Right. This is something different.
Yeah, throw something unique into the mix and all that. Yeah. That's what's, you know, we try to do that with our crew, is mix up how we all hunt similar. Yeah. Right. But we're all trying different stuff and experiment with different equipment and stuff. Like,
we do a lot of roundtable stuff just on a topic or on a.
Well, we do debates too, you know, and we're not hating at each other when we do the debates, but that really, like in our group, Working Class Bowhunters on Facebook, that gets the interaction there. I almost have to like get in sometimes. We're like, hey, everybody, can we just
chill out?
Yeah, let's chill out. We're all good. Like, we're, you know, we have the debate, but the debate causes the arguments on the internet.
We're at a 10. Let's bring it to a 2.
Right. It's like, all right, sorry. But no, I mean, having the opportunity to do Working Class on DeerCast here is cool for us, because we hit a group of people we may have never listened before, because we're pretty raunchy on our normal series. We can button up here, tighten up the language, you know, and we're probably tapping into a lot more listeners that might not have listened before. Plus viewers too, not only listeners, viewers. So probably more viewers on DeerCast than listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's you know, that was the other thing that we set out to do originally with our podcast. It's like, at that time there were very few that were doing a video version. Yeah. It's like, all right,
not many at all, a handful.
What are we known for? Video production. So that was a major part in the beginning. Yeah. And originally, like, Kenyon drove down here and did a bunch with us in studio, and I mean, that was a big thing for us to make sure we were together doing this stuff. So I thought, you know, you've seen it, a lot of people have video versions now, but that's our medium, right? That's where we cut our teeth, and so that's where we want to be.
We're new to the video side. I mean, we've done a pile of videos and done some different sub-series, but everyone on DeerCast is videoed, and I enjoy it, you know, but my thought initially, maybe I'm late to the video because I always thought guys are just listening while they're working or welding or driving and they can't watch it. But, you know, there's a lot of people that will go to YouTube just to listen to them. Well, it's like, well, if YouTube's pulled up, they could watch it too.
Yeah.
So, or DeerCast or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So
we assume it's a lot of women.
Yeah, that probably is. The watchers are probably women. The listeners are probably mostly men.
Well, I know. Like the interesting part about DeerCast, that audience. Like a lot of the older guys in there, they don't have social accounts on other platforms. So that is their social account. Yeah. They might not have Stitcher or Libsyn or
Spotify?
Exactly. Yeah. So for them, I know Terry's, interestingly enough, listens or watches all of these podcasts in DeerCast. I know a lot of guys that do. And so you are hitting a new demo there that may not have caught you otherwise.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I mean, we hear about people at the shows like, oh yeah, I found you guys on DeerCast and started listening to the other series and stuff like that, pretty cool. Which is cool. And then in turn, it's like, oh, you got DeerCast? Yeah. Do you ever watch any of the podcasts or videos? No, I didn't know you could. I'm like, what? You didn't scroll to the bottom, pull up your app.
Around.
Oh, I guess I didn't pay attention. I just used it for weather.
There's so much in DeerCast. We find that so many people use it for a particular function.
Yeah.
A tool.
Yeah. And so there's just so much to explore there and so much to communicate what's in there. And one of the hopes that we had for DeerCast was a kind of a unified platform for the hunting community. We've got the
Driven's in there.
The Driven. Yeah. And Dr. Grant Woods and just so many great people. Yeah. You guys that are kind of coalescing around this like deer hunting.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely. It's a big community. It's hunting camp, really. If you think about it, everything's there. And, you know, growing up as a big fan and really just a fanboy of Drury in general, it's like I can go through there and scroll through all the videos, and to even be like included in that circle for us is like insane.
It's cool. Yeah, it's crazy.
You know, like a bunch of working class dudes who, I mean, we started from just guys drinking beer in basically a closet recording a podcast.
But that's how Mark and Terry started. That's you'd die if you saw the original videos of them practicing their intro in their mom and dad's basement. It's hilarious. They're wearing coaches shorts.
Is that floating around on the internet anywhere?
It's not on that. Well, so I think a little bit of it is in we put something out there like it was called a Moss Yoke moment, and we did something where they reviewed it in studio. They watched the video and commented on it. It was pretty funny. We'll link to it, but
that's cool doing that stuff. That's all neat. Like our first episodes, we had people at the Indiana show this past week. Yeah, I went and listened to episode 1. Because they saw us the first day and came back. I'm like, man, you got to realize that's 7 years ago.
Don't judge us.
A lot of different equipment has changed, but that's cool though. You know, it's kind of neat. But I just want to be like, hey, there's over 500 episodes in there, and
we hit our stride at 358.
Jump around a little bit. Maybe just start on DeerCast. If you think you kind of like us there, then jump to the regular series. Less cussing. But
I had a moment of surreality a couple weeks back. I think you were on the Zoom call with your dad, and Terry was just like, I really enjoy watching the podcast with you guys. Mm-hmm. And I said, thanks, but Terry, that means a lot. And as I was thinking about it, I was like, this is crazy. Terry Drury is saying he likes to watch something. Because I grew up watching, like, Bow Madness was my favorite show on the Outdoor channel. Yeah. And to have Terry Drury say, it just kind of glossed over me at first because it's like, you're in the day-to-day, your normal job. Right. But gosh, that's really a cool thing.
It's amazing. Yep.
And I think, and you guys, I think are experiencing this also, is like, you can't lose the magic and the wonder of like how fortunate we are to be where we are and do what we get to do. And sure, there's tedium and there's difficult stuff, but man, there are worse jobs to have out there.
Oh, it's pretty amazing. Like getting a FaceTime call from Mark Drury is like nuts to me. I'm like, I remember Mark called me one time. It was when he killed that giant, and they're all celebrating. He FaceTimed me, and I get off the phone, and my wife looks at me and she goes, 12-year-old Curt would be losing his mind right now. I'm like, when you think of it that way, I would be. Like, that would be nuts, So very fortunate to be where we're at in the hustle. And then real quick, I wanted to switch from podcasting to hunting. Do you guys feel that pressure at all, like being a part of Drury when you're hunting?
I do.
You feel it pretty heavy?
Very heavily.
You probably feel it the most heavy, right? Yes. You and Taylor probably do.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for her. I know from my perspective, trying to succeed on my own. It was one thing when I hunted at Dad's.
Yeah.
It was pretty, I mean, you're a trigger man,
right,
in some sense, because they have it dialed in, him and Forrest, and, they're doing all the work.
Yeah.
But when I started leasing, 7-8 years ago and started trying to figure out, it's like, all right, I can't, at that point, early 30s, it's like, all right, I got to figure this stuff out on my own. And that's when the pressure is set in for me, because it's just not easy. They make it look so easy. And I think people lose sight of the knowledge that they've gained in 70 combined years, and so they get crap that it's like, oh, they're behind every tree. If they hunted public,
they would know. I'm like, man, what they know about deer.
If they hunted public, they'd succeed there too.
100%.
And that's the reality of the knowledge that they have. And so I try to sit back and remind myself that I don't have the knowledge. I've listened to it for my entire life.
Applying it's a little different.
Applying it is a whole different story. And so, I mean, I feel that pressure from a sense of the last name and an average, below average year for them is an exceptional year for me. I just,
all of us,
and so just even this last season, I killed a deer out in Kansas with a muzzleloader, 148, all mature bucks. I killed one during rifle season that went 146 or 7. And I killed one in the late season, which was the best one, that went 143. Mm-hmm. And I felt like I had a disappointing season because I never got any of them within bow range, like 20 yards and in, any mature buck, and it's like, man, I got to up my game because this isn't acceptable. Great to be able to use all these weapons, and I use a crossbow, which I know on your platform people get a lot of crap for.
Oh no, they don't. But
I'm all my arms work.
It's a debatable topic.
And I carried my vertical with me all season long. Mm-hmm. I never gave up on it
for pictures.
But but I just it was just one of those years. It was really tough. And so from that perspective, I had somebody, a business associate that I was talking to the other day, is like, man, you had a hell of a year. And it's just like, I should step back and think of it from that perspective. It was a great year, but from my perspective, I was very disappointed in it and in myself and how I performed through the year, and shouldn't be, but that's, I think, the pressure that comes with it, that nobody's going to, cry me a river. Nobody's going to feel sorry for you, but that's just personal stuff.
I like that you talked about that though, because I would think a lot of guys would be like, oh, Matt, and if they don't know you or might not ever hear you say that, they might think like, oh, he just goes in and does because his dad and his uncle did this or whatever. But it's cool that you talk to that and admit that, because I think that'd probably be hard for some people to admit. But it's better than being the opposite, where you're cocky. Because daddy held your hand and you're still holding your hand,
no ego about it. I mean, the reality is I got a lot to learn. We talked about it on our podcast when you guys were on, the farming side. I just purchased my first farm. I'll be 41 here in a few weeks, and closed in the end of November. And I got a lot of work to figure out. I put in food plots and stuff, and with the help of guys that, the guys like Scott that work with us, and Aaron Bennett and my core friend group. But, from a larger scale, I don't know anything, you know what I mean? So it's a matter of learning. And so what I do try to think about is when Mark and Terry started, Mark was 24, Terry was probably 34. Mm-hmm. So I try to think from that perspective, look, there's still time.
For sure.
I learned a lot in my late 30s. I got a lot more to learn through my 40s. And I think the benefit that we have is to go back and look at the content that they've created and say, this is the recipe to success if you have the want to follow those.
The drive.
It's like the build up to it as long as you stay in it.
That's right. So I just got to remind myself, hey, be consistent, be out there, put in the work, and you're learning things along the way. I've learned a lot by not succeeding, many years of not succeeding on my own, and learned a lot through the way. So it's just, you got to sit back every once in a while and just remember you're not them.
And it's good to open up about the struggles or the things you're trying to accomplish. I mean, you really, the viewers or listeners would be, it's easy to compare to, because we all start from somewhere, and there's no silver spoon here for you. You got to figure this out.
No, in a lot of ways, those guys were hard on me. They treated, I remember I didn't negotiate for my salary here, when I first started with Mark, and Dad kind of gave me a heads up, here's what he's probably going to offer you. You should go in here, and it was not a big number. They've never gave me preferential treatment. We've had a lot of tough conversations over the years, and we have got a great relationship and we have a great working relationship. Everybody plays their part, and that's Taylor included. Everybody's got a part to play, and it's important and vital to this overall success. So, I try to think of it in that respect. It's like, how's the team doing? How's our team doing?
Yeah.
How are we succeeding as a company? And hell, I've been here 18 years now, full time. I've been here 20 years and around it 33.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. I see sometimes on the, the meme pages and stuff like that where I'll take some shit and it's just like,
really?
Oh yeah. And I saw one not long ago where a guy said, now you guys need to go after the coat tailors. And then he listed me and Taylor and Tiffany and Tyler Jordan and some Matt Busbus, and it's like, okay. I put in my freaking hours, man.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely do, but break that down. What else? Like, would you guys expect you not to hunt because you were born and raised in the family, and just because the generation that raised you is successful at it, were you guys supposed to not continue the family business and go for it?
Think about it like that, because Dad's got the construction company, and I worked for him, through high school and first couple of years of college, and it wouldn't have been. Nobody would have thought twice about somebody going to work in their family construction business.
Right. It's because we go back to the whole, I don't work. People call me, I'm not working class anymore because I'm not at a job I dislike. And Mark brought that up on one of the first Working Class on DeerCast episodes. People are cool with it as long as you're miserable.
Yeah.
But if you're happy and they're miserable, that's not good.
Yeah. No. You find out who your friends are when you start finding success.
Yeah.
Like, that's really when
for sure
the cream rises.
Well, and that too, and anybody that's going to talk about you is never above you.
And
you know what I mean?
I don't worry about it too much because I get what the meme pages are. They are what they are.
They're shit posting pages.
They are. And I find a lot of validity in what, most of the time. That's the only reason it would hurt, is because most of the time I'm like, yeah, I agree. And then it's when it's about us, it's like, shit, we made it on the meme page.
Right. Well, hey, that means you're doing something, I guess. Or I don't know.
Just take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I get that. And I was wondering, if you got any of that. But I mean, Tyler Jordan's the best. You wonder. I mean, it's easy to think that, right, about him. Like, he just grew up in this Realtree family. He's got it. He does whatever he wants. But I don't know. I don't think probably. But my daughter and my son, if this is still around when they're 30, and if I can
build something for them.
Yeah, if they want to hustle and work for the company, I'll pay them. But if they're not going to ride on it for free because Daddy didn't do that,
I mean, I think it's up to the parents to make sure that the kid's not getting away with murder and doing nothing and taking all the accolades. I mean, there's an element of that. But for me, I always wanted to succeed on their behalf.
For sure.
Work harder on their behalf, figure things out on their behalf, because almost a sense of duty to them.
For sure.
And this is their thing. And I say it to this day to them when we talk about, and Dad always says, no, this is your company as much as it is ours. It's like, no, it's still yours. It's still you guys'. You built it.
Yeah.
I'll do what you guys want me to do. You just tell me, if I need to be changing something.
Yeah.
Well, and I was like, I don't normally like to give Matt compliments.
No.
But
who does?
But I can say like observing, he is very driven.
Yep.
Like, in his hunting and in business, and making sure that the Drury family name is highly regarded. Like, it's cool to see how much he wants to kill his own deer. Like, he doesn't want to be a coat tailor.
Yep.
And it's really refreshing, because out of anyone that has the opportunities, like, you very well could take advantage of some opportunities and kill some great deer and have a much easier season. But I mean, we both have young families, and the time that he spends on the road and the hours that they're putting plots and they're managing their properties, like, Matt doesn't cut any corners, whether it's in business or it's in his hunting. And he, like, the temptation would definitely have to be there, because there's opportunities for it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not above it. Listen, I killed my biggest two deer. Dad's in the same year 3 years ago. It's.
But also, man, Daddy's farm. Hey, Dad, sometimes I'm coming hunting, buddy. You know what I mean? If my dad had a farm, I'd be like, I'm hunting there for 2 weeks this year. Let me kill a buck.
Well, and part of it is just by default, I don't go there much because of the family scenario. Like at home, I don't want to be gone. So it was out of necessity that I picked up these leases that are about, an hour and a half from the house. And even the farm I bought's an hour and a half from the house. Well, everybody knows like some really great deer hunting's about, we're in St. Louis, it's about 3 hours, 4 hours. And I was just not willing to do that. So Dad would love to have, him and Forrest would love to have us up, Scott and I up or whatever. But I don't go other than like rifle season because of the tradition of opening weekend. Like I love going up there and we passed plenty of deer. I passed deer that you would I would give my right hand to shoot, right. But it's deer that are on the no shoot list. And like, I don't really care. It's not about that.
Yeah.
It's about being there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'd be thrilled if Forrest killed the biggest deer on the farm. This is a guy that deserves it. You know what I mean? And he gets to kill some great deer up there. And so I look at it from that perspective, like, hey, if I get the opportunity, Dad's always inviting me. Right. Great. I'm going to go when I can go. When it fits.
Anybody that's a real person and gets how things work could even blame you for doing anything like that. Like, we would all do the same.
The setup's ridiculous. I mean, it's just ridiculous up there.
But like you said, though, like Mark and Terry they weren't born into that. They made that.
Yeah.
And that's like the argument I make. It's like, I see some of the comments when Mark's on our show or whatever. It's like, yeah, Mark's good at hunting out of box blinds on manicured farms. It's like, well, where do you think he cut his teeth? Like when he was your age, when you're on the internet talking
killing
shit.
100-inch deer.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and he hustled. That's the whole point. Like you work hard to get to where you want to be and you continue working hard and you can have cool things and hunt how you want to hunt.
Well, and you make your own luck.
Yeah. Make your own luck.
By working your ass off for it.
You just make that up?
That's the other thing.
Really?
I think that's a common saying.
Right. That's the thing. Like they're still working hard.
Oh yeah.
To make those things happen every day. And that's what I think falls short on people. It's not that it's just set and ready to go and they walk in.
Going is like nobody actually just hunts for a living. No one just goes to the woods and gets paid and comes out.
And that 8-minute video you just watched, there was like 80 months put into getting that ready to make that 8 minutes come together like that.
Right. Well, like people see Ross's man cave. He just got one of his full mount bucks jumping over his like railing.
That's your place?
Yeah. That's Ross's house.
That's pretty bad.
It's his man barn. So,
it's sweet.
Yeah, it's amazing. You guys got to come and play some pool and hang out with us there sometime. But I had a lot of comments on there where, well, that must be nice.
Must be nice.
And it's like,
that must be nice.
I took 4.5 years building that thing, nights and weekends.
Yeah.
Pulling old barn wood down, saving old galvanized metal. I mean, 4.5 years of just a little here, a little there, saved for this because it's a tremendous amount of money when you add it all together. But if you just do a little bit at a time, and then it turns out really cool. And but it was a long process.
Well, so we talked. You didn't hunt once or twice in the month of November. You didn't actually get to hunt until all your work was done in December or January. You killed your buck in January.
Yeah, January. I basically missed the whole dang season. And
because you're working.
Just working.
Yeah.
Because
must be nice.
Yeah, it must be nice.
Nobody ever sees the work it takes to get to the end result. They just see the end result.
But hey, that's all right because if you work hard, cool things will happen, and people who know know. So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's right.
But no, I appreciate you guys letting us come in, take over the studio. It's been fun doing like a back and forth and finally connecting the two podcasts on DeerCast there. And we're a family. We don't actually hate each other, but I think it's funny to act like we do.
It's fun. I enjoy the back and forth. It's fun.
It's fun, man. It's hunting camp. The banter is what it's all about.
That's exactly right.
And if you can't give your buddy shit, he's probably not a very good friend.
That's right.
Yep. That's right.
That's what I look. So
jackasses.
Now, what I want to do is come up and join in studio at some point.
You guys
that'd be fun.
I want to see the new
get a
place.
haircut while we're there.
Yeah, snip the top of your ear off. We'll be good. I don't know what movie that is. I just watched a movie where some chick did that to a guy.
It was Jurassic Park.
Yeah, that's probably it, right?
Don't ever listen to anything Tim says.
I don't watch movies, so I don't actually know. It could have been Jurassic Park. I'd have no idea.
Pretty sure it was.
But yeah, you guys should come up. It'd be a lot of fun.
Would love to.
We're not that far. You got family in the cities, Quad Cities, don't you? Still?
Yep.
Yeah, come
Well,
on
there
out.
you go. There's your excuse to get up there.
His excuse. I got to come up with a better one.
I told him I was from the Quad Cities. I'm like, yeah, you know where John Deere's from? He's like, oh, I thought they were just known for their crime. We're just south of the Quad Cities, so we're out of that.
Different kind of crime.
Yeah, different kind of crime. We got meth crimes in New Windsor.
Yeah.
I should put New Windsor on the map.
It's a small
that.
town.
It's a small town. Yeah,
That's where you get the meth crime.
You got to stay busy. I mean, it's a type of entrepreneurot.
That's right. We're trying. They're out there just trying.
Working man's drug. Keep moving. Long hours, right, Ross?
That's right.
Rod's like, damn it.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to put New Windsor. But it's actually a really nice town. We have a building there. I wouldn't have if it would have been worse than that. So
Yeah.
This is where I close up this podcast and we just get on with it, right?
Yeah. Just apologize to everybody afterwards.
Yeah, sorry guys. We love New Windsor, really, we do. So
Shout out New Windsor.
yeah, New Windsor. Hey. All right. Well, I think that wraps it up. Thanks, fellas.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having us.
All right. You know what to do. Go shoot a giant. We love you guys. Thanks.